So first, let me say, if you actually attended the webinar, you guys couldn't see my screen. You could see me, but you couldn't see my screen. And I screwed up something that is so simple. And I've been doing these webinars all year long, and I've never screwed this up, and I did. I didn't share my screen with you so you could see my slide presentation. I am so sorry about that, but we're going to re-record this, send you the link so that you can actually see this. I cannot believe I made that mistake. All right. So this is me, Tucson Functional Medicine. Okay. I am one of only 2 certified functional medicine doctors in the city of Tucson. A lot of people will tell you they practice functional medicine, but there is only 2 schools that can actually certify functional medicine doctors. And if you actually look at the doctors who went and got certification, there's only 2 of us here in Tucson. There's several doctors that'll tell you they practice functional medicine, but I would always go to a certified doctor because there you know the kind of training that they're getting. Okay. So we have patients all over the world. We have patients outside the country, outside the state. I have people that are patients here in Tucson that never come into the clinic. So just like we're using Zoom to do this webinar, we do the same type of thing with office visits. We use Zoom to do this with office visits. Now, the functional medicine world has been using telemed for years, but this is relatively new. And actually the coronavirus has, I mean, not that it's a good thing, but it has actually really, really helped, because now that everybody has to stay home, doctors are actually using the internet to do doctor's visits. So this whole telemed thing has become a much more understood thing, and it isn't just the functional medicine doctors doing it. But functional medicine has been using telemed for a lot of years now, but it's kind of become mainstream now. So let me get this to where it'll work. Here we go. So this graphic was done by the CDC. And this was done a few years ago. And so the numbers might actually be worse now, but 6 out of 10 Americans have a chronic disease. 4 out of 10 Americans have 2 or more chronic diseases. So this is my little elevator speech. With 60% of Americans having a chronic disease, people are wasting more and more time in doctors' waiting rooms. Tucson Functional Medicine offers health programs that gets to the cause of your health issue. So you can spend less time in the waiting rooms and more time enjoying the quality of life that you deserve. So in this graphic, it actually says that we spend $3.3 trillion on healthcare, and that number is $4 trillion a year now. Now we're spending $4 trillion on healthcare in this country a year, and that might be okay if we had the best health in the world. Now, different rankings have different things, but if you look at the World Health Organization's rankings of health, we are ranked 51st in the world. So we're spending way beyond any other country for our healthcare, but yet our health isn't the best in the world. So maybe we should ask the question on what we're getting. Are we getting what we pay for? Or have we become satisfied with mediocrity? You know, doctors say, well, you're going to get more aches and pains as you get older. No, you're not. Not unless you allow your body to deteriorate, and then you'll get more aches and pains. But you don't have to do that. That's your choice. So today we're going to talk about adrenal fatigue, okay? We're going to talk about the different things that can cause it and how it is such a big issue for so many people in America, and the world probably, but America for sure. So this workshop is for people who want to feel carefully listened to and deeply cared about. We give away a free, what we call a discovery appointment, because a lot of times people don't really understand what functional medicine is. And then when they get in, they think, oh, this isn't for me at all, which is okay. But I don't think you should have to pay to find out that this isn't a good option for you. And who knows your body better than you? So you should be the one doing most of the talking in that discovery appointment. You may not know what's going on in your body, but you know how it feels. You know what you can't do. You know what you can do. That's the most important thing. If a doctor does not listen to the patient and take the time to actually talk to the patient about what's going on, you need a new doctor. This is for people who want to successfully recover from their adrenal fatigue, create practical and sustainable health habits, uncover the root cause or causes of adrenal fatigue. Now, we're going to talk about the most common one today, but there are other causes than this. But this one probably makes up 70, 80% of the adrenal fatigue. This is for people who want to spend less hours researching online, less hours in waiting rooms, less hour watching podcasts, stuff like this, and more time out enjoying the quality of life. That's what your life should be about. Not doing research to figure out why you're not having the life that you want. Let's get the life you want. By the end of this, you'll discover the one major cause of adrenal fatigue. There are others, like I say, but this is the biggie. The exact method we use to help even the most challenging cases. Why the conventional approach isn't working. A proven strategy for long-term health. I read this article the other day that said this was by the, I believe it was by the AMA, and they were saying that 50% of medical doctors are obese. So how can a person that's obese tell you to lose weight? So this is a question I always ask people. Is your definition and your doctor's definition of health the same? Because if it's not, you are going to be frustrated for the rest of your life. So what we do in America is we pick another doctor in the system, because this guy, his goals aren't mine or her, whoever. And so I'm going to pick another doctor. But we pick another doctor in the same system, and you're just going to be frustrated. So people change doctors all the time, and they don't get what they want. You need to start thinking outside the box if you want real health. So does it feel like someone has pulled the plug? This is literally what it feels like. It feels like, man, I just have no energy. It feels like somebody flipped a switch or unplugged me, and I can't exercise. I'm tired when I wake up. I'm tired in the middle of the day. I need to take a nap. Then I'm tired at night. Then I go to bed and I sleep for 10 hours and I wake up and I'm tired again. And this is a cycle that happens. So most Americans are fatigued. So this is fascinating. Let me see. So of people that get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night, a quarter of them, a little over a quarter, 27%, say they're tired 4 or more days a week. And these are people that get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. People that are down at 6 hours a night, 54% of those people say they're tired 4 or more days a week. So fatigue is a huge problem in America. Okay, a huge problem. And what we've always been told, well, I just need to get more sleep. Well, this shows you get 7 to 8 hours sleep a night. There's still a quarter of our population that is tired most of the time. And if you look at this, tired 1 to 3 days a week for people that get 7 to 8 hours, that's 45%. So if you figure this out, what is that? That's 72% of people that are getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night that are tired 1 to 3 days a week or 4 or more days a week. So this isn't just sleep. I mean, sleep is important, right? Sleep is important, that's for sure, but it isn't it isn't the end all for not being tired. Okay, so what we need to do is begin with the end in mind. What is it that you actually want, right? So what is the desired state? I want to be energetic. I want to be motivated. I want to have clarity in my life and in my thinking. I want to be happy. Who doesn't want that one, right? I want to be calm. I want to be confident. I want to be balanced, emotionally balanced. Now, all of these, if you are fatigued and tired, none of this is going to be there for you, right? You're not going to be energetic. Motivation. I'm exhausted all the time. How can I be motivated? I don't have clarity of thought. I'm not happy. I'm tired all the time. I'm not calm. I'm stressed out of my mind. Okay. So what's the current state? Maybe, and you can fill these in with yours, but are you tired? Are you confused? Are you stressed out? Are you frustrated? Is it a roller coaster for you? Do you have a day that you wake up and you have more energy and you do more stuff because you haven't been able to do it, and then you're wiped out for the next 3 or 4 days? That's pretty common with adrenal fatigue. So what we need is, if we want to go from here to here, we have to have a plan and we have to have a strategy. And this is our biggest problem, is most Americans don't really have a strategy for their health until it's gone. And then what they do is they go to the doctor, because I don't have my health anymore. And the doctor gives you a little orange bottle with a white top. And that's called a prescription. I'm not against prescriptions, but the problem is your health is not found in a bottle. So what are the adrenal glands? The adrenal glands are these little triangle glands that sit on top of your kidneys. Now they do a lot of stuff, but you know, this is some of the big ones. They produce hormones that control your blood sugar, hormones that burn protein, hormones that burn fat, hormones that cause you to react to stress, hormones that regulate your blood pressure. Okay, that's what the adrenals are supposed to do. So in the medical terms, we call this the HPA axis. So if you go to the medical journal, you go to Medline or something like that, and you type in adrenal fatigue and adrenal exhaustion, you're going to find nothing, because those terms are something that we talk about on the internet. If you type in HPA axis, you will find thousands of articles. So the H actually stands for the hypothalamus, your brain. The P stands for the pituitary, which is considered your master endocrine gland. And then the pituitary tells the adrenals what to do. So the brain tells the pituitary what to tell the adrenal to do. And that is called the HPA axis. What do you think we call the thyroid? That's called the HPT axis. See, your thyroid and your adrenals don't do anything on their own. They have to be told what to do. And what does it? The brain tells the pituitary what to tell the adrenal glands to do. This is the system. This is how it works. So if you want to look it up on any medical stuff and you type in HPA axis, you'll find tons of stuff. If you type in adrenal fatigue or something like that in the medical journals and stuff like that, you will find nothing. So the public, this is what you'll find on the internet. So we call this, they call it the alarm reaction. And what this is when you are in the fight or flight nervous system. So in medical terms, we call this the sympathetic nervous system, and that is our fight or flight system. The parasympathetic nervous system is called the resting and digesting, or feed and breathe. I've heard it called that too. But basically, this is what your adrenals are supposed to do. This is what they're built for. They are built to respond to stress. So I have a saber-tooth tiger in front of me. My adrenals kick out all this extra stuff so that I can either hit the saber-tooth tiger, probably not, or run away faster so I can get away from the saber-tooth tiger. That's normal. So what should happen in the adrenals is, if I have stress, my cortisol and DHEA go up. When the stress is over, they go back down. The problem in America is the cortisol never goes back down. And we're going to talk about that. That's one of the biggest issues that we're going to talk about. But stage 2 is when we start having resistance. Okay? So the resistance is where the adrenals begin to lose their ability to come up with the body's demand for cortisol. So remember what we said, stage 1, the cortisol and the DHEA should rise, deal with the stress, and then go back to normal. But if the stress is there all the time, cortisol and DHEA goes up and it stays up, doesn't go down. And eventually the adrenals can no longer keep up with the amount of cortisol that is needed to address the stress. So then we call it adrenal exhaustion, right? This is where the body recognizes the decline in cortisol. And what it does is it starts to reduce your energy to protect you. And then you're out of energy. So because the stress is there all the time, the cortisol stays high. When the cortisol begins to fall, your body responds by reducing your energy to conserve energy so that it can fight the saber-toothed tiger. Then we have what is called adrenal failure. Okay. And what this actually is the adrenals become completely exhausted. They can no longer keep up with the demand and the need for cortisol. And we're going to show you some actual pictures of lab results and actually show you on a lab perspective what each one of these is. Okay. So in a medical perspective, normal function, like we were talking about, the cortisol goes up, the DHEA goes up to deal with the stress. When the stress is over, cortisol and DHEA go back to normal. That's the way the system's built. And that's how you get your foot off the gas and on the brake, bang, just like that, because your adrenaline goes like crazy. Well, part of the adrenaline or the catecholamines is cortisol. That's one of the catecholamines. We have epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, dopamine. You have all these things, and that's what allows your foot to move almost instantly from the gas pedal to the brakes to get stopped so you don't run into the car in front of you or whatever. So that's the way the system's built. The cortisol and DHEA should go up. Now my car stopped, the stress is gone. Probably won't go down instantly, but it will go down because the stress has been dealt with. So stage 1 is where we have high cortisol, but low DHEA. And we'll show you these in a minute. Stage 2 is we have normal cortisol, but we know that's not actually normal because what? Our DHEA is low. Stage 3, they're both low. The cortisol is low and the DHEA is low. So what happens when the stress doesn't go away is the cortisol stays high, but the DHEA collapses first. So the body is able to keep the cortisol level higher longer than the DHEA. And we'll show you on some lab results here in a second. How about right now? So in stage 1, okay, we have depressed DHEA, okay, DHEA. So we want it to be 3 to 10. This is a 2. We'd like it to be 8 to 10. Okay. And this person has a 2. So the DHEA is low, but look at the cortisol. It's high. It's high. It's low there, but 2 of the 4 are high. This one's actually normal, right? But we got 2 high. So we have high cortisol and low DHEA. So remember, stage 1 of adrenal, what do we call it? Adrenal dysfunction, I guess, is where the cortisol is high and the DHEA is low. So this is what the test looks like for stage 1. I got high cortisol and I got low DHEA. And that's what it shows up on the test. Stage 2, wow, my cortisol is normal. It's within the green, but the DHEA is still low. So what's happened is the cortisol, which used to be up here, right? It was all up here somewhere. It is starting to fall. So it's fallen, but now it's fallen down to the normal range, but we know that's not normal because of the DHEA. So this would be stage 2. The cortisol is falling. Stage 3, now our cortisol is way down here. So my DHEA is still low, but now my cortisol, which used to be up here, right? It was up here. Then it fell to somewhere in the green. Now it's fallen to below the green. And this is stage 3. These are the people that these are the people that we don't even talk about exercise with them. Not yet. We got to get the adrenals. Because if you're at stage 3 and you go out and you exercise, you're going to be wiped out for days. Because your entire fight or flight system has been working overtime for probably decades. You know, I was an air traffic controller for 10 years. And in 1980, Ronald Reagan fired me and 150,000 other air traffic controllers. Now, I would have sworn on a stack of Bibles I wasn't stressed. That's how come I could do this job. But yet my blood pressure dropped unbelievable when I got fired. I was stressed. I just didn't realize it. See, stress has become so normal in America that most people are stressed out of their minds, but they don't realize it. And the reason they don't realize it is because they are stressed all the time. We have learned to adapt to that level of stress. So what are the symptoms? And there's more than this, but these are the biggies, the symptoms of adrenal fatigue, right? How about fatigue? How about struggling waking up in the morning? No, the energy levels are all over the map. Sometimes they're high, sometimes you want to take a nap. How about difficulty handling stress? Food cravings, especially salt. A weakened immune system, unexplained body aches and joint pain, depression and anxiety, dark circles under the eyes, impaired recovery after physical activity. So you do something physical, so you feel better one day and you think, man, I got to get out there and do some of the things I can't do anymore. And you go running or something. And then for the next 3, 4, 5 days, you can hardly get off the couch. You're so fatigued. That's adrenal most of the time. Low blood pressure, poor circulation and numbness, lightheadedness or dizziness, weight gain or fluid retention, decreased libido. One of the things that I've been treating for about 20 years is neuropathy. And I found, not that often, but every once in a while I find a patient and their problem isn't actually neuropathy. Their problem is adrenal issues. Because when you are stressed and you're having adrenal issues, you get poor circulation and numbness. And one of the biggest places that you can have poor circulation and numbness is in the feet. So I had this one neuropathy patient and we were actually treating him with the pulsed infrared and cold lasers that we've been doing for 20 years, and nothing was getting any better. And just out of the blue, I ran an adrenal test on that person, and that was their problem. And we worked on their adrenals, and all of a sudden the neuropathy went away. So like I say, there is more than this one, but this is the biggie, okay? This is probably causing 70, 80%, maybe even more of the adrenal issues, okay? Stress. Stress is the biggest thing that is undermining our health in modern America. And what stress used to be was the saber-toothed tiger, right? But how often did I have to deal with the saber-toothed tiger? Probably not very often, because if I had it all the time, I'd probably get eaten. So maybe every once in a while, we would have a saber-toothed tiger and our adrenals, cortisol, DHEA would rise to run away from the saber-toothed tiger, but then the saber-toothed tiger wasn't there all the time. The problem is we have repackaged the saber-toothed tiger. So to the best of my knowledge, there aren't any saber-toothed tigers anymore. I've never seen one anyway. But what we have done is repackage the saber-toothed tiger. And we now call it late nights, harassment, stress, mortgages, deadlines, conflict, debt, bullying, work overload, anxiety, taxes, coronavirus, right? So what we have just done is we have repackaged the saber-toothed tiger and all these things that are surrounding that guy. This we call life. And it doesn't have to be this bad. We can never eliminate all of our stress. To think you can is being completely unrealistic. But what if you eliminated 60, 70, 80% of your stress? That would allow your adrenals to go back and do what they're supposed to do, because they're not dealing with all of these things every minute of every day. So this next is a little video, because it's going to show you a point that that we'll talk about after the video. So if you've seen a lot of my webinars, you may have seen this before, but here we go.
Oh, I'm at the airport and they've got this deal for 5 donuts for $5, which is an awesome deal because it's pretty much the same price as buying 3 donuts anyway, so it doesn't matter. And I set my stuff down and I pick up the paper and I start reading the paper, and this guy sits down across from me. And so I, look over the paper and he kind of gives me a bit of a smile and give him a bit of a nod, and I go back to reading the business section. a little while later, I hear this rustling on the table, and I'm like, I look over, and the guy, he's got his hand in the bag of donuts. Okay, that's a bit weird, but it doesn't really matter. The guy looks like he's homeless. He probably needs it more than I do. And I've still got 4 donuts anyways, and I'm not going to eat all 4 donuts. So what do I care? So I reach in the bag and I grab a donut and I start eating it. And I go back to reading the paper. So I'm just getting into the social pages and I hear this rustling on the table again. And I look over and the guy's got his hand in the bag of donuts again. He takes a bite and I'm like, what the crap? Now I'm getting a bit angry, but the precedent has been set, and so I don't feel like I can say anything. But I reach into the bag a bit more aggressively, I take a bite, and I just shake my head like, whatever. So a few minutes have gone by, and there's this call on the loudspeaker for the next departure, and the guy gets up and he starts gathering up all his stuff, and he gets to the end of the table and he stops. And I see him out of the corner of my eye, and he reaches into the bag and he pulls out the last donut. And I'm like, seriously? And he looks at me, he breaks it in two, and he hands it to me. I reach out and I take this half, and I'm in total disbelief. And he kind of nods at me and he walks off. So while I'm sitting here pondering the absurdity of what's just happened, I hear the call for my flight. And so I get up and I grab my bag and I grab my jacket. And under my jacket is my bag of donuts. Not only was I eating that guy's donuts the whole time, and he didn't say anything, he took out his last donuts and he broke it in half and gave it to me.
So this guy was getting all stressed out about that other guy eating his donuts. In reality, he was eating the other guy's donuts. Now, the point of this is your body and your brain does not know the difference between real stress and perceived stress. So if I have a saber-toothed tiger in front of me, my body's going to react. I'm either going to fight or I'm going to run away, probably run away from the saber-toothed tiger. But if I think there is a saber-toothed tiger out hiding behind my car, my body will react exactly the same way. And I'm not even positive there's a saber-toothed tiger out hiding behind my car. So this guy was getting all stressed out. His adrenals were kicking out cortisol, dopamine, all that kind of stuff that goes with stress because this other guy's eating my donuts. And then he gets up, picks up his coat, and what was it? The entire thing was completely backwards to what he thought. But that didn't change the way his body responded to that. Now, the guy who actually responded well was the other guy, right? I mean, he even gave him half of his last donut. But the point about this is it's not just what happens to you in reality. It's also what you think might happen to you causes exactly the same response. So what we're going to talk about is what we do to help. We're going to give you a couple of things that you can do that will help enormously. Not going to fix the problem, but it should, if you have adrenal fatigue, this should help. Okay. So we're going to talk about two of those. I mean, really what we have to do to actually fix the adrenals is we have to test it. We have to know where you are to know what we need to do. And that part, of course, we can't do in the webinar here. So number one, we're going to try to remove as many stressors as we can. You can't remove them all. There's no way. I guess the only way you can remove them all is to die. And then I guess you don't have to worry about stress anymore anyway. So, but an awful lot of the stress that we have in our day, we're stressed out, but why? We really shouldn't. And it's all about proper perspective of whatever the issue is. Okay. So number two, you gotta be asleep, not in bed, asleep by 10 p.m. Okay. If you're not asleep by 10 p.m., you are short-circuiting your body's ability to heal itself. So it's not really our purpose here, but we want to allude a little bit to blue light. Now, every electronic device creates blue light. And one of the things that blue light does is it causes a release of norepinephrine in your brain, which blocks the conversion of serotonin into melatonin. Because if I'm stressed, melatonin is for sleep. I don't have time to do that. I got to fight the saber-toothed tiger. So the body kicks out norepinephrine, which blocks the conversion, right? So the experts are now saying that you need to stop all electronics a minimum of 2 hours before you go to bed. Go to sleep, I guess. Okay. So the point about the whole thing is, what do most Americans do? Most Americans watch TV and they shut the TV off, stumble down the hallway and go to bed. So if you go to bed at 10, but you've been watching TV until 9:55, you have now blocked the conversion of serotonin into melatonin till midnight, or maybe even longer than that. But if your body heals itself from 10 to 2, and you go to bed at midnight, or you go to bed at 10, but you watch TV until you went to bed, or you watch TV in bed, that's probably the worst thing you could ever do, is have a TV in your bedroom. You're short-circuiting your body's ability to heal itself. So Harvard did an article probably 25 years ago or more, and they said that if you go to bed at 8 and get up at 2, you can actually increase your life expectancy by 10 years. 10 years. That's huge. Guess what time I go to bed and get up? The third thing is to avoid coffee and caffeine. These things are stimulants, and that causes their adrenal glands to work overtime. Why? They are toxins to the human body. Now, here's the double-edged sword. If you have adrenal fatigue and you wake up in the morning, it takes 7 cups of coffee to get going. And now we're telling you don't drink coffee. So what we have to do is fix the adrenal glands, and then you can enjoy your cup of coffee in the morning, but you don't need it to get going. How many people do you know? Don't talk to me till I've had my cup of coffee. I mean, one thing is just fascinating to me. I don't drink coffee, but I drive, and I drive past Starbucks. And there is always a line around Starbucks. They're charging you $5, $6, $7 for a cup of coffee. And people are lining up for that. And Starbucks is just amazing to me that people will wait in line, pay dollars for something they could make for pennies at their house. Maintain sugar control. Too much simple sugars, or too much sugar in general, will cause stress to the human body. Minimize TV. This is what we talked about. TV and computers and any electronics, your phone. Should you ever take your phone into your bedroom? No way. Absolutely not. Should you have a TV in your bedroom? Absolutely not. When you go to bed, it should be to go to sleep. Not to watch TV, not to read, not to do any of this stuff. So remember, blue light comes from every electronic device. And it stops that conversion of serotonin into melatonin. So you need to stop at least 2 hours before you go to bed. Exercise. Now, if you're stage 3, even some stage 2s, exercise isn't even an option at that point in the ballgame. But exercise releases endorphins, which is relaxing to the body, which helps you have less stress, and it also helps you sleep better. But that's all relative depending upon how your adrenals are. So I have some people that they're at stage 3 adrenal. We're not even talking about exercise. What we're doing is talking about all the other stuff first. And then once we get the adrenals to where they're functioning better, then we can start talking about exercise. Nutritional supplements. Now, the nutritional supplements are completely based on whatever the test results tell us. So I can't just give you what you should do because it depends upon the levels on the test. But we're going to talk about 2 things that you can do that will definitely help your adrenals, okay? So no processed sugars. All right, that one's pretty straightforward. Everybody knows that. Um, you should try to stay away from processed sugars at least 90% of the time. Don't eat candy and ice cream but enjoy it every once in a while, but just make sure it's every once in a while. It's not having my bowl of ice cream every night while I watch TV before I go to bed. That's our problem as we get into things. But if you love ice cream, how about you have it maybe once every couple of weeks? Have a bowl of ice cream. Every occasionally, it's not going to hurt you. It's these habits that we have. So never skip breakfast, ever. When you wake up in the morning, if you've been sleeping 8 hours, you haven't eaten a thing at night. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we put something in our system. And I read an article one time that said that 60% of Americans don't consume breakfast at all. And that's the most important meal of the whole day. Why? Because you haven't eaten anything since maybe, 6 o'clock last night or 7 or whatever. And so you wake up, at whatever time the next morning, 6 o'clock or whatever, and you haven't eaten anything for, at some cases, as almost 12 hours. So here's what you should always have. You should always have a big, huge glass of water on your nightstand. And you should have some sort of a snack. Doesn't need to be a whole meal, but you should be putting something into your digestive system within 1 hour of waking up. Why? We need to stimulate the entire digestive system, our immune system. We need to get it moving. And if you don't eat until, say, 11, or you don't eat anything till lunch, which is not abnormal in this country. You haven't eaten for, since maybe 6 o'clock last night. You wake up at 6. Now you don't eat anything until, say, noon. So that's what, 18 hours that you haven't put anything into your body. That's stress. And we're causing the adrenals. So I have a big glass of water and I have like a little snack. Maybe a celery stick with some peanut butter or something like that in there. And when I wake up in the morning, first thing I do, go to the bathroom, got to do that. And then I come back, I drink that huge glass of water and I eat whatever the little snack. And it needs to be healthy, but I put something into the system to begin the process of my metabolism and everything start working. Big glass of water, a little snack. Make sure that you eat something within 1 hour of waking up, and you should drink one big glass of water within an hour of waking up. Use salt. Wait a minute. I thought salt was bad for you. Okay. There are two things that your adrenal glands consume like candy when we have adrenal fatigue and the adrenal issues. Number one is salt, water, salt. What happens is your adrenals pull all the salt out and it dehydrates your cells. And when your cells are dehydrated, they become salt deficient, sodium deficient. So this is what I tell my patients. You should drink, filtered glass of water with 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of salt on a regular basis, especially in the morning. So guess what? On my big glass of water sitting on my nightstand, there is a teaspoon of salt in there. So depending upon where your test is, if you're stage 2 or 3, I might have you drink this glass of salt water 2 or 3 times a day. Depends on the test. Everything depends on the test. But if you are tired all the time and you think it might be from this, start drinking a glass of water with 1/2 teaspoon of salt in it, first thing in the morning. See what it does. See if it helps you. The second thing is your adrenal glands eat vitamin C like it is candy when it's stressed. So the two things that you can take from this webinar that will help you is you need to, if you're tired all the time, increase your vitamin C huge and start drinking water with a little bit of salt in it and see what that does. If it's coming from the adrenals, it's not going to fix the problem, but it should help you have more energy and help the adrenals to do their job better. So the big take home, salt, a little bit of water, or a lot of water, a little bit of salt, and vitamin C. That will help huge, huge will that help. Okay. And then what we do is need to figure out what your problem is and actually fix the problem so you don't have to do all this kind of stuff. This is kind of a patch while we fixing the problem. So in your PDF handouts, now if you're watching this on YouTube, in the description of the video, so at the bottom of the video, you get a little description, and then there's a little thing that says show more. And if you click on that, it gives you all the information about the video. And it also gives you the link so that you can get the resources that came with this webinar. If you actually attended this webinar, I actually sent you an email with the link to get all the resources or to get the PDFs. And one of the PDFs is the resources. So the resources that we used in preparing this webinar, there's a list of them in the PDFs for the webinar here. Okay, so like I say, if you're watching this on YouTube, you're not watching it live, go to the description, show more. There's the link for you to download all the free resources that came with this. Okay. So let's recap. Stress is not the only cause of adrenal issues, but it is the biggest one. Stress causes your adrenals to work overtime. Eventually, the adrenals cannot keep up, and the adrenals start to what the public would call adrenal exhaustion. And when that happens, you are dead tired. You just can't do anything. You wake tired. You want to take a nap in the middle of the day, and then by the time nighttime comes around, you barely keep your eyes open. And a lot of that can be the adrenal glands. So we talked about how you can deal with this. The two big take homes for yourself about the adrenal fatigue is number one, let's go back to it. A big glass of water on your nightstand with 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of salt in it. And then as soon as you get up in the morning, drink that water down. Okay. You should also have some snack type, not crappy snacks, but a good snack on your nightstand because you need to, it doesn't have to be a whole meal, but you need to put something into your digestive system within 1 hour of waking up. Breakfast is by far the most important meal. And you need to eat something within an hour, but that gets the system going. The lack of food is also stress to the human body. Your body doesn't know that, hey, I don't have time to eat breakfast, I got to go to work or whatever. The body just knows we haven't had any food. And then the body kicks into survival mode. So then it slows your metabolism down, starts creating stress. We emit cortisol and dopamine and all the different catecholamines. And then what happens is that is more stress to the body, which then keeps this system going. The second thing is vitamin C. C as in Charlie. Your adrenal glands eat vitamin C like it is candy when they're stressed, when they're not functioning correctly. So what I tell people is if you are fatigued and you think that it very possibly might be your adrenal system, this isn't going to fix the problem, but if you start adding salt to the water, at least in the morning, and then you start taking vitamin C, a lot of it, and all of a sudden your energy gets better, that's because you're helping the adrenals. It's not going to fix the problem. We need to find out what actually is causing the problem and fix that, but that is a temporary way for you to be able to aid the function of your adrenals and get some better quality of life. Then what you need to do is you need to book a discovery appointment with me. You need to come into the, well, you don't even have to come in. You can do it on Zoom too, but we need to do this discovery visit, and we need to figure out what's going on with you and fix the underlying problems. One of the tenets of functional medicine is to teach you to need the doctor less. Nobody wants to sit in a waiting room, but no doctor can make you healthy. Only you can make yourself healthy. I can help you, but I can't do the work for you. So what I tell patients is, I'm really, really good at throwing rocks, big boulder rocks in the creek, but you're the one that has to walk the rocks. I can't walk the rocks for you. I can only walk the rocks for me. I can only make myself healthy. Only you can make yourself healthy. What you need is a guide. And you need to help to have somebody that helps you understand what's going on in your body, why it's behaving this way, what's not working, and what you need to do to fix it. And the reason that you need this knowledge is so that you can keep yourself healthy for the rest of your life. We've accepted a lot of things from our society and our healthcare system, and one of them is the doctor tells you, well, you're going to get more aches and pains as you get older. That is a complete crock of crap. You will only get aches and pains as you get older if you do not take care of your body when you're younger. But most Americans don't. So most Americans do not take care of their body in any way, shape, or form. And the first time we really start paying attention to our body is when something goes wrong. We take our body 100% for granted. And then when it starts to break down, we wish we had taken it serious earlier. I worked in hospice for a few months. And you know what the number one regret was in hospice? It didn't matter what skin color you were. It didn't matter what you're a man or a woman. It didn't matter how old you were, young or old. You know what the number one regret in hospice always was? I wish I had taken better care of my body. So how about we start taking better care of our body? And we do it before we need to. That's what functional medicine is about. It's about your quality of life. It is about solving the health problems that you have that are causing your quality of life to decrease. The medical world is excellent in what it does. Its entire focus is survival, right? So the medical job, the traditional medical doctor's job is to keep you alive. Well, I'm not against that. That's a good thing. We need that. But the problem is what's really bringing down the health of Americans now is not emergency type things, emergency room type things. It's not infections. It used to be. And that's where our medical system grew up, and it became amazingly efficient at dealing with emergency rooms and infections and stuff like that. So the traditional medical world has actually done very, very well about keeping us alive. Now that's changing. I challenge you to go look online and find out what's causing life expectancy to decrease in America. Life expectancy has been decreasing in America since 2013. How many people do you know that are alive, but their quality of life is so bad that maybe they wish they weren't alive? Because the traditional medical world has kept them alive, which is fine, but the quality of life has gone in the toilet. Why? Chronic disease. Chronic disease now makes up 7 to 8 causes of death out of every 10 Americans every year now. And the problem is the traditional medical model is still treating chronic disease like it's an infection. And that works for infections, but that doesn't work that great with chronic disease. So functional medicine has become the quality of life doctors. I want you to stay alive. We need the traditional doctors for that. But I want you to have a great quality of life where you can go out and your body is not limiting what you can do. Your body should enable you to do what you want to do, not prevent you from doing it. And most people, as they get older, what do? They sit around the house, they do nothing, they watch TV. Why? Because their body's so broken up that they can't think about doing the things that they should be doing when they get old. So the key is to take your health serious and start working on it before you actually need it. This is the secret. The reason, health is not an accident. Health is a planned, systematic program. That's what health is. See, the most amazing thing about the human body is it lasts 70 to 80 years being treated as badly as we treat it. That's the most amazing thing. That is how amazing the human body is. We can treat it horribly for 70 to 80 years before it finally gives up. But according to the CDC, human beings are supposed to live to be 120. That comes from the CDC. Then why is the average age of death in this country 78? And why do we accept that? Why do we accept dying 45 years early than what the CDC tells us we should be living to? See, these are things that we have accepted that we need to start questioning. If we're supposed to live to be 120, I want to live to be 120. But to do that, I have to be active and proactive about my health. There is no accidental healthy people. There's people that are healthy because they planned it. They worked for it. They did the lifestyle things. Okay. So the two take homes: salt in your water, vitamin C. That will help your adrenals operate better. It's not going to fix the problem. If you actually want to fix the problem, one of the handouts that we give you in the PDFs is the way to work with me. But you can go on my website, TucsonFunctionalMedicine.com, and everywhere on that website is a button that you can push, and you can book either an in-office discovery appointment with me or a Zoom call discovery appointment with me. If you don't live in Tucson, or you don't want to come in because of the coronavirus, stay home. We can do it over the computer. We're using Zoom right now to do this webinar. So we do a lot of Zoom calls. I have patients in Japan, New Zealand, Australia. We have patients back east. I have patients in Iowa. I have patients all over the place, because you no longer need to live in the same city as your doctor. The other thing that is super, super, super important is we don't charge for that discovery appointment. Why? People have different ideas of what functional medicine is. So a lot of times they come in, and as we kind of explain to them what functional medicine is, you just see in their eyes, they have no interest in this whatsoever. So you shouldn't have to pay money to find out if functional medicine or me is a good fit for you. It shouldn't cost you money to decide whether we are a good fit, functional medicine is a good fit, or it's not. And if it's not, fine. You spend a little bit of time with me, you learned that this wasn't an option for you. But this can open up amazing potential.